Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Lefebvre, and this week we are focusing on simple people illustrations. So for today's video, I wanted to focus on just the face, really breaking it down to make it as simple and as easy as possible. We're gonna mix different skin tones, and I'm gonna show you how I use mixed media using watercolor, acrylic markers, and colored pencils to create these really easy illustrations. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, so for today's video, we are going to be doing some fun and simple people practice. Now, I did this the other day on my own just as something fun for myself to do. I posted it on Instagram and people seemed really interested in kind of learning how to do this. So I thought for today's video, we could kind of go over what I did here. Now, I did these using mixed media. I used watercolor for the faces and for the clothing, but then I added some acrylic markers for the hair, fine liners for the face, and even colored pencils for extra detail. So I thought it'd be a really fun way to kind of show you how I did that today. So get out all of the supplies that you have. You could use gouache, you could use acrylic, you could use, dollar store markers, your fine liners, whatever you have, get them out and have fun. So I created this kind of like little chart today for this, just to, space it out differently in my sketchbook to do 6 different faces. And the medium I'm going to start out with is watercolor. So I want to start out with the basics of how to mix different skin tones. But also I want to keep this whole practice very, very simple and easy and quick. I don't want you to overthink it. I don't want you to think that you need a background in, anatomy of like faces and all that stuff. It's supposed to be really fun and illustrative and expressive. So do not overthink this. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the skin tones. And then while that's drying, we can get out all of our other supplies. So I'm using my Shinhan watercolors here. I have a size 8 round brush, and the sketchbook that I'm working in is a Strathmore mixed media sketchbook. If you are planning on using some markers or pencils, you might want to use like a smoother paper just so it applies a little bit easier. But again, if you want to do it all in watercolor, you can definitely do that as well. Okay, so let's start with different skin tones. As you see, I already have some here, but to create that, all I did was take some permanent rose. So if you have a pink, use that. I take a little bit of yellow. Essentially, I'm creating a peach color. Now, obviously, no one's skin is this bright orangey kind of peach. You're going to want to dull that down, and there's different ways you can do it. Peach or orange, you can take a little bit of green if you wanted to. Kind of dull that down. And then to get a really, really light skin tone, you just add water. So I'm just bringing it over here. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick kind of like a circle or an oval shape. I actually want you to experiment with different sizes and shapes. So maybe you're going to do an elongated oval. And I'm just using a mostly watered down version of that color we just created. Okay, and that's going to be a lighter skin tone. I'm also going to do a little neck here, which is essentially just like a little rectangle at the bottom. And maybe some ears until we decide what kind of hairstyle we want. Okay. Like that. Now, if we want to darken this skin tone a little bit, you can just pick up more of that color. Let's try a more rounded face. See how it's slightly darker? This one is less watered down. It's the same color, but it's less watered down. Do your little rectangle at the bottom. Now, if you notice there's some pooling, it should soak up in your paper, but if it isn't, and you get some of those kind of blooms or funny marks, just tap your brush on your paper towel to mop up that color a little bit and move it around. I'm going to do a little ear here, little ear here. Obviously, you can use different shades of brown as well to create different skin tones. I'm going to add a little bit more burnt sienna to this to get a more that's a little bit too orangey. I would actually even maybe add a little bit of indigo just to neutralize it a bit. And I'm going to just create a light brown shade. Little ear there and an ear there. It's just like a C and a backward C. Again, if you feel like it's pooling a little bit too much, Just try and go over the whole area, distribute that water evenly, tap it on your paper towel if you need to. And then again, you can get lighter or darker shades using more or less water. So if I really water this down, I can get a very, very light brown. Let's do a perfect circle here. Again, just tapping my brush on my paper towel. Like that. Oops. Like so. Maybe we want to darken it a lot more. I'm going to add some more burnt sienna. I'm going to add a little bit more indigo. And get a really nice dark kind of chocolate brown. And again, the more or less water you use will change the color of that skin tone. So the more paint I have here, it's going to be darker. Let's make this a bit more like of a different kind of shape. Again, your shapes don't have to be perfect. This is kind of like almost like an egg shape. Just trying to get a smooth wash here. Like that. And then I'm going to water it down so it's super light. And then just let's do like another little oval shape. Like this. Just taking off some of that excess water. Like so. Okay, and that is the first step. So now we need to let this completely dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to get some of my markers out and my colored pencils. Okay, so now that it's dry, I have my markers here. I have my pencils. I'm going to be using my Artex acrylic markers, but you can use whatever you have. I have my Caran d'Ache luminance pencils, but again, whatever pencils you have works. And we will use those in just a second. But now that this is dry, we're going to add just a little bit of tiny watercolor detail to it. So again, you can use watercolor for the shirts, the tops that they're wearing, or the hair, anything really. I actually might do that. But what I also like to do before I add detail to the faces is I'll take the same color, or maybe even just add like a little bit of red or pinky color to them. And this is definitely how you want to stylize your illustrations. But I like giving them some rosy cheeks just for fun. So I'm just taking that peach color and a little bit of pink. And while it's dry, I'm just going to do these little rosy cheeks. It's just, I don't know, gives our characters a little bit of fun. You can even just do it with the color of their skin, the color that you used. So it's just slightly darker. Maybe a little bit of pink, a little peachy pink here. It's just what I used in my other little illustrations, and I just thought it looked cute. Like so. And then if you want to, you don't have to do this, but if you want to give it a little bit more character, you could do a nose, like just a triangle. We're going to add some detail with our pens after, but if you want to kind of give your character a little bit more dimension to the face, you can just do these little different kind of shaped triangles for the nose, which you'll see once everything's added. It just, I don't know, gives it a little bit more character to it. Totally up to you though. You can give them tiny little noses, long noses. I did like a little nostril on the other side of that one. Wider noses, thinner noses, pointy noses. I'm just doing like little triangles. Honestly, that's it. Okay, and then I would let their faces dry like that. What I want to use also for my watercolor are the shirts. Now, again, don't overthink this. We can add more detail after. I'm just picking colors and I'm doing shoulders like this and just kind of filling it in, scooping around that neck like so, with different colors. So do this and then we will move on to our detail. Okay, so now that that part is done, we can move on to the fun details where you really get to develop your characters. So like I said, I'm going to be using my Artix markers. I just find they are great for coverage, especially for hair, because if you decide to do watercolor for the hair, you might see the shape of the head underneath, which is totally fine. It's completely up to you how you want to do it. But just for mixed media fun, I've been really enjoying incorporating markers into my work. So now, like I said, have fun with it. Pick a color. For blonde hair, I have been kind of tending to gravitate towards like a yellow ochre color. These don't really have color names, but let's do you. And you just get to pick the hairstyle. So one thing I do see with beginners, and a lot of children too, like when we used to draw our people, we would just go like at the top of the head like this and then kind of come down. But our hairline goes kind of like above our head too. So do like a little part, maybe like 2 little lines, and have your hairline start a little bit above your forehead. Okay. We want to make sure that they don't have completely flat heads. You can keep it as simple as this. You can show the ears if you want. You can go over the ears. That's kind of why I also like using the acrylic markers. There's pretty good coverage, and just pick kind of whatever hairstyle you want. So here's like some straight hair. Now it is kind of, you can see the shoulders underneath, but with acrylic markers you can layer, which is great. Maybe I was gonna do, should I do like bangs? I could do bangs, maybe kind of coming down. And they're kind of just tucked behind the ears. Now I might grab like a lighter yellow for a bit more, you know, highlight in the hair. Now, the only thing with acrylic markers, depending on like the colors you have, they may not be like realistic looking. Like this doesn't really look too much like blonde hair. What you can do though, sometimes if you have another brush that you don't tend to use a lot, and you don't mind getting kind of messy, you can blend acrylic markers. So if I go like this, and then I go like this, you kind of can blend them. I should have found a marker sooner. You can blend them just a bit. So it creates the colors you want. You just kind of have to go back and forth while they're still wet. And it's kind of like acrylic paint. So there is a way to get those colors that you want with acrylic markers, which is interesting. Okay, just kind of blend them together. Just using a really crappy brush. I'm not going to use my watercolor brushes, even though I almost grabbed for it. Again, just do it while it's still wet. Grab your lighter color. And then we can also use extra, like our pencils later, for more depth in the hair too. Like you don't have to just stop here. Okay, so there's that simple hair. And I promise you, once we add our pencils and all the extra detail, it's going to look so much better. I'm going to rinse this brush off quickly. Okay. For shorter men's hair, I'm going to channel my husband here and do a little bit of like sideburn action in front of the ears, kind of come up and do a little, remember above that forehead line, like this, and just kind of go around. Really, really simple. Little swoop to the side. I'm going to give him a beard because my husband has a beard, just going around the chin like that, and then just kind of come up under the nose for a little mustache. Why not? And again, I will probably add my pencils after. You could do, let's do some fun curls. So I'm going to show you some, actually I'm going to do curls on this one. I have some black here, and I'm just going to do kind of like a letter S, like squiggles like this. Nice, beautiful, curly hair. I'm going to fill it in with a light brown. I'm just kind of doing the outline first, or dark brown. Okay. But this is what I want you to have fun with. Develop your characters. It could be based off people you know, or just kind of do it randomly. I'm just going to fill this in. Again, we're going to add more detail once we add our pencil. You can make it nice and long, short. Like that. I would take another brown. Maybe do a couple squiggles like that. Just to give a lot of different dimension in there. I'm going to take the black again and kind of go over it. Like so. Easy peasy. All right. Let's do hair for another man that kind of just falls more in their face. Maybe it's kind of like bangs like this, goes swooping down. Again, remember, they have a bit more of that sideburn action going. So I'm going to have little bits of hair kind of coming out like this. You can really do it however you like. There's a million different hairstyles you could do. Simple. Let's do for other women, or if they have even a man, if they have a ponytail, which can be difficult, I would go around the top of the head like so, and then just kind of do another semicircle and just kind of bring some strokes back or fill it in. Like so. I'll go around the ears a bit. Now, if you want the ponytail coming out the side, you could do a bun, where it's just kind of like this little ball on the top of their head. I would just grab a darker color, do some of those hair strokes. Like so. And maybe if they don't have a lot of hair for another man, you could even just do like little dots where it's like really, really short. Again, coming a little bit above that forehead line, right? We don't want it to be right at the top, right here. Like so. Just give it a little bit of texture, maybe. Like that. Okay? Maybe for this chick, she has like a little hairband in. Okay. And there we go. So now they're looking a little bit more developed here. For the faces, I want to keep it really, really simple, especially for beginners. For the eyes, which you saw here, I just did dots. Like, you don't have to make it anything spectacular. So I'm going to do dots kind of where the top of the ears are, in between. Now, depending on your character, their eyes can be a bit further apart. They could be closer together. All of these little things that you do for your character are going to change the way they look. So really kind of, you know, play around with that. Now, obviously, this looks kind of simple, boring. Let's develop it a little bit more. That was a size 0.08. I'm going to grab an even smaller one, if I can find one, an 01. I'm going to do some eyebrows. Now, if you want to do eyebrows with your markers, you could do that too, if you want to make them nice and bushy. You could do that. Why not? Or you could do it with your pen. Do them really small, short. However you want them. I actually kind of like the eyebrows that are just lines. You can have them a little bit more shaped. Totally up to you. Okay. I am going to take my smaller one, like I was saying. This is where I'm going to add the detail, like for the nose. So again, you don't have to go around the triangle, but maybe you want to add the nostrils. Maybe you want to add kind of like a little L shape in a nostril. Maybe you want to make it a little bit more, you know, detailed. You could do 2 little curves on the side. It's totally up to you what you want to do. Maybe you want to make a longer bridge. Like you can keep it as simple as a little L or not. For the lips, now you could do watercolor again, or you could take your acrylic marker. Just add a little bit of a, let's get a bit more of a pinky color here. Just do a little bit of a smile. Maybe a side smile. And we'll outline this a bit more too. Those are a little that one I feel needs to be a bit darker. Just play around, okay? And then you can always take your pen, kind of go over it if you want. It can just be like a smile, like literally like that. Maybe give them a little dimple or give them little dimples on the side. Who knows? Maybe you could give them glasses. Why not? If you want to, I'm going to give them a bit more. Of their lips here. If you want to go in a little bit more detail with their eyes, you could do a little kind of curve on top. Give them some eyelashes. That's up to you. If you want to keep it as simple as possible, you can. You can do a little curve on the bottom. Kind of makes them look a little bit more happy. You could do the same thing here. Like a curve on the bottom. You could even go around the top. It's all about what you want for your style. One thing that's actually fun to kind of add, if you want a little bit more detail, I'm just taking my pencil, my white pencil, just got to sharpen it quickly. So it's a really nice point, and you can add the whites on either side of the eyes just to make them a little bit more defined, or even in the teeth. Just to take it a step further. Okay. Totally up to you what you want to do. Like so. Okay, I'm going to give these guys some eyelashes. Just a little curve on top and some eyelashes. All right, now we have the basics of everything we need here. Now it's for those extra detailed bits that you want to add. So I'm going to put my markers aside. If you want to use your markers, you can, but I really enjoy using my colored pencils for this part. So I'm going to grab some brown. Actually, I'm going to grab kind of like a tan skin color. What I like to do is I like to add a little bit of shadow, maybe to one side of the neck. If you want to define the underneath of the face and then just shade a little bit like that, you can. And even same thing with the ears, just kind of have your face extend or even go around the ears like that. I'm just kind of giving them a little bit more of a chin here. little bit inside the ears here. A little bit of shadow down there. Like that. Okay. Like I said, with the hair too, if you want to give it a little bit more texture, you can use your pencils for that. For any of them. Pencils are a really great addition to this because you can get some really nice soft bleed or blends between colors. So here I'm going to do this girl's roots just for some shadow. Add a little bit of shadow underneath here. Maybe a little bit more of a lighter brown, or even the, or no, I'll do a lighter brown. Just adds a little bit more texture and depth to these characters the more you add. And you could really just sit here for hours and just keep adding and adding and adding to these simple drawings to really make them stand out. You could add even like little bits of makeup over top of their eyes if you want to. You can, you know, really go to town with their noses a bit more, making them a little bit more defined if you like. You could add jewelry, why not? Little necklace, whatever you like. Honestly, you could just keep going and going and going. It's so much fun to do. And then with the clothes, I would take my pencils again, maybe go around, add some little arm spacers here, a little bit of shading like that, and it just helps it to stand out just a little bit more. Maybe you can add a pattern on it too. Why not? But illustrations do not have to be intimidating. They do not have to be, you don't have to be an artist to really create these simple illustrations. It's all about the detail you add to it that really kind of makes it what it is. Maybe there's flowers on this. I don't know. Okay. So again, just have fun, add shading, add little detail, and just try and do as many characters as you like to really kind of just go for it and experiment and see what kind of style you like. Try out different face shapes, eyes shapes, noses, use different materials and really develop these characters. So I hope that was helpful. I'm just going to kind of have fun and continue with this. And let me know in the comments how you guys do. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. Have a great day, guys. Bye.